Welcome to Use the Codex Video PowerPoint. So you want to fix your slides. The first thing to do is to use Dan Rome's Codex, which is essentially a decision matrix that he developed in his book, Back of the Napkin. It helps you make decisions about how to represent the ideas that you want to include in your visuals. What you're looking at here is Dan Rome's Codex that you can use to help determine what type of visuals you want to include on your slide. Now, the first step in developing slides is figuring out what you want to include on the slide. So after you've developed your outline and know what you want to say, what information is important to convey to your audience, then you can determine, do I need a slide to represent this? And if I need a slide, what is my key takeaway or main point? After you've decided what your key takeaway and main point is, in other words, what you need to convey to your audience through this visual, then you can use the Codex to figure out how to represent or convey that meaning, what visual is going to be most appropriate. So we start by looking down the column at the framework, and you determine which framework it is that your idea fits into. Is it a portrait? Is it demonstrating how much, where, when, how, or why? Then you use the row at the top to determine which version you want to use. This is the row up at the top of the line where it says squid. Do you want it to be simple, elaborate, quality versus quantity, vision versus execution, individual versus comparison, or change versus status quo? This then helps you try to figure out what's going to work better. So let's look at an example of this in action. What you're looking at now is a slide from NASA that was discussing the foam that flew off of the Space Shuttle Columbia, which eventually damaged it, and on re-entry caused the entire space shuttle to blow up and lose lives. Now, obviously, this is a really bad slide. It didn't convey the information that the engineers needed to convey, which was that this piece of foam lost on takeoff may have caused significant damage. By any standards, this is a bad slide. It's text heavy, it doesn't use crap, and they certainly didn't use Dan Rome's Codex to try to figure out what type of visual representation of ideas would work. So here's the second version that we're looking at. Now, this one uses crap. It illustrates some sort of process and relationship between ideas. However, in a presentation, this visual is going to compete with you for the audience attention. Your slides should be like backup singers. They should augment and make you look good. They should never compete for the audience attention with what you're saying. This version of the NASA slide is a bad backup singer. In comparison, this next version is a little bit better because the relationships are more clear, it's better crap, there's not as much clutter, and if you were giving a verbal presentation, this would actually work, especially if you were adding in and building animation for each step in this process. Now let's take it one step further and look at how Rome's Codex and crap could really be used together to make a very effective visual. While this visual is complex, it uses crap to illustrate relationship between ideas, and it presents a very clear picture of what the slide is talking about. As the presenter used a build or animation to add new pieces of information as they moved through this slide's ideas and then finalized with the pictures of the wing, you could get a better idea of the information that's trying to be conveyed. This would advance the message more significantly than any of the previous three slides. Looking more closely at this slide and how you would apply Dan Rome's Codex, you can see that the framework that they used here is a timeline, a relationship moving from the beginning of a process, drawing out the logical conclusion or the results of that initial action. Additionally, you can see the framework of portrait, a who or a what being applied here. And we have a fairly elaborate illustration simply because what needs to be conveyed is important, detailed engineering information. Your presentation may not require quite as many complex visuals, but every presentation needs to think through the Codex. Different situations require different types of visuals. Make sure when you develop your presentation, you think through what is the key point of every visual I include, Am I applying good crap? And am I using the Codex to identify the best type of visual, the framework, and the version that I need to advance my message?